What's up guys, Doug Polk here, and today we're going to be looking at the latest in the Robbi Jade Lew investigation. And I've got some personal information I've found from being here. I'm in LA currently, that's why you can see I'm on my phone instead of on my computer. And I've been at the Hustler the last couple of days. I've been behind the scenes, I've been talking with Nick and Ryan, the guys that own the show. I've been trying to investigate all the leads that I can, and I have some information that has never been revealed before right here in this video. Before we jump into some analysis and what I personally saw, let's talk about what happened. So yesterday, Hustler Casino Live released a statement that one of their staff had been caught palming chips off of Robbi's stack. Now, what does that mean? So just so that we're all on the same page, the person that was caught palming the chip, his name is Brian. Brian worked as the assistant slash social media guy for the stream. He would do a lot of different things with the stream. For example, he'd mic pack people up, or he would help Ryan Feldman in the back when they needed different things going on with the stream. He's on audio, he's done some social stuff is my understanding. Basically, he's in a position that's kind of flexible and can kind of help out with the stream with whatever they needed. And he's actually been on the stream since day one. After Hustler made the statement, there has been a lot of stuff going online about essentially what was Robbi's connection to Brian. Robbi is claiming that she doesn't know who Brian is, yet they both followed each other on Twitter. Robbi unfollowed Brian once this happened and the accounts were deleted, Brian's account was deleted as far as my understanding goes. So it's a little bit weird to me for Robbi to say, I don't know who that is, I've never heard of him in my life, whatever it is that she said, yet they're following each other on Twitter. Now, some people follow a lot of people, like for example, Obama follows, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people. So there's definitely times when you don't know someone you follow. However, at the time, they both followed around 300, 400, 500 people each. It wasn't exactly a long, comprehensive list. In Robbi's defense, she recently sort of blew up and so has only recently been following people on Twitter. If you look and see on her social blade, she basically only recently started following many people, so it's totally possible someone slipped through the cracks. However, it is kind of weird for them to both follow each other when they don't know each other and she has never heard of him. That is a little bit of a red flag. After this information about Robbi and Brian came forward, Robbi called into the Joe Ingram stream where she was joining Haralabus and Deeb. And, well, the interview was pretty goddamn hilarious.
Bill Perkins wants you to come clean with Harold Lopalililis, whoever the fuck that is.
He's also on the call.
It sounds like some Harry Potter fucking magician. I have no idea who the fuck that is. And from what I've heard, like, lots of people don't.
I didn't realize how many different ways there was to say Haralabus, but, you know, now you know. Now this morning, Robbi has tweeted out the DMs from Brian that he sent her regarding the incident that happened where he palmed the chips, saying, "Hi Robbi, my name is Brian. I'm the kid who stole 3 chips off your stack. I was working, but now I'm fired. I'm in a really bad place financially and my debt was adding up." It goes on and goes on. Basically says, "Robbi, I believe you. I'm glad you understand that pressing charges would only have made my life worse. I wish you were here so I can give you a huge hug and tell you I'm actually sorry. He grew up too poor. Thank you for sparing me. Thank you for a bunch of other things. I'm 100% behind you." Which, by the way, is definitely a good number to be using on this investigation because I've seen 100% like, I don't know, 80% of the time. And it's been used both ways a lot. So my big takeaway is I'm not going to use the words 100% when I can avoid it. Seems like a good choice. Anyway, Brian had deleted his Twitter, so he must have been using another account to message her, and certainly this could be a situation where Brian is saying that just to make it look like he's reaching out for the first time. I don't know. Why would he delete his Twitter and send these DMs? Not exactly totally clear. However, let's put all of that to the side. Let's talk about what my experience has been like here at the Hustler over the last 3 days. I got in from Boston to LA 2 days ago, very early in the morning on a 6 a.m. flight. Dropped off my stuff, went to the Hustler to get my money cleared, that situation all sorted out, and I met up with Feldman and Vertucci. Now, if you guys don't know, Ryan Feldman and Nick Vertucci are the owners of the Hustler Casino live stream. They have been completely open with me about all information at Hustler over the last couple of days. They've worked tirelessly to try and figure this case out. They've told me all the information, at least to my knowledge, that they have available. They've included me on decisions They've shown me the back room. They have any single question I've had, they've answered. They've basically opened the book fully, because what they most care about, and they told me this directly, is they want the truth. They're not trying to cover this up. And I think poker players are a little bit scarred because we think about what happened at Stone's gambling hall when the Apostle thing happened, and essentially Stone shut the whole thing down, shut the stream down. Everyone don't say anything, this is over. And there was some kind of investigation, maybe or maybe not, but the bottom line was they did not want the truth. In this situation, I strongly believe that these guys want the truth, and they're doing everything that they can to try and get it. I run a poker stream. I know what it means to have people's money and information at stake. So I can't stress this enough. They understand the stakes here. They understand the importance here. The number one thing to them is to not lose their business. This is their baby. They work on this all the time, especially Feldman. And on just a side note, I didn't realize just how hard Feldman works. He's the producer. He sets the lineups. He does all the social stuff. I mean, the guy is so actively involved. I can say personally that I'm certainly not that hands-on at the lodge. We have people that do these different jobs, and we work together as a team. And they have a good team here at the Hustler. But this guy is so in there every day. I have a lot of respect for what Feldman does. Putting those things to the side, let's talk about what happened. So I got in a couple of days ago. I went to the Hustler. They sat down with me and we said, okay, well, what do you want to know? And so first we checked out the table, we checked out the back room, they showed me all the setup, basically showed me their entire operation that they're running. When I got to the back room, the control room, I went up there and I said, this is kind of weird. There's a filing cabinet that blocks the direction where the camera comes from in the control room. And then there's a desk there. And I was like, who sits in this desk? And they said, Brian sits in this desk. Here is the filing cabinet, here's a table. And essentially, Brian's desk is right behind this filing cabinet that blocks the camera back there, okay? So, you know, my first instinct when I saw this is very suspicious. Why would you put a filing cabinet here? I don't know how long the filing cabinet's been there. And then I was told the filing cabinet was recently moved where it blocked them even more. So essentially, it was still in that area, but Brian said he wanted to make more space in the back, and then moved the filing cabinet even closer to his desk and moved his desk to the side. Brian's desk, also for the record, is directly behind where all of the hole cards are. So essentially, he was a little bit off center from being able to see the cards. He gets moved over. All of a sudden, his desk is right behind where you can see the hole cards in real time, with a filing cabinet blocking the vision of a camera that's in that direction from being able to see the cards. When I saw this, I have to say I felt overwhelmingly like Brian was should be the focal point of this investigation. I actually think in retrospect that I was told about his palming the chips before that they showed me this, so I don't want to again say this incorrectly, but when we combine the chip palming off the table for 15K and combined with this new location of his desk, the evidence again starts to feel a little bit overwhelming. I was also told that in the back, when Robbi decided to give the money back, he let out like some kind of yell that he was upset that was happening while this was going on, which again is another factor. This is a bit of conjecture here, but just at least something interesting that we should know. Some other pieces of information that are not public information to my knowledge that will help us in this particular instance. So when you have a stream, you can transmit it to the computer in one of two ways. You can either use hardwire or you can do Wi-Fi. Hardwire is a lot safer than Wi-Fi because essentially it can be intercepted and used to see hole cards. Hustler has a hard line setup. Now, for the record, the Lodge has a hard line setup as well, and we also use a hand shuffle. Hustler introduced an automatic shuffler, I'd say 2 or 3 months ago, something like that, maybe mid-July-ish, early July, something in that vicinity. So at some point in the early July timeframe, there was a switch from hand shuffle to automatic shuffler. Now, automatic shuffler is nice from a hands perspective. You get more hands in more quickly. You don't need to deal with all the stuff. However, it does open up some new vectors of attack because if someone figures out a way to have the machine see the cards, they can transmit it. Now, there's two deckmates. I've talked about this before, but there's two kinds of deckmates, deckmate 1, deckmate 2. Deckmate 2 has a camera. The one that they had, I believe, was deckmate 1, but either way, there's no camera. All it knows is if there's 52 cards in the deck or not. I just realized I left out an important note about Brian. He had moved the filing cabinet to make space, or whatever the explanation was, and his table closer to where the cards were somewhat recently, like let's say 3 or 4 weeks ago. Maybe it was mid-September, something in that vicinity. So this is a recent change. This didn't happen a long time ago, which maybe leads some evidence towards that this could be a recent phenomenon. The players in the stream seemed pretty worried that if this had happened now, maybe it had happened before, and that's totally fair. I think all leads should be investigated, but we should do so knowing that this movement happened about a month ago, and that additionally the automatic shuffler has only been there for, let's just say, 3 months. So these are pretty key parts of our timeline as we're trying to figure out exactly what happened. Okay, so going back to the chip stealing incident itself, he palms 15K off of this stack. Bunch of things at play here. Okay, so for starters, it's certainly possible this is not the first time he's done this. It's unclear how often, but typically speaking, when someone has done a crime like this, they are fairly likely to have stolen money in the past before. Not saying he did. So we should certainly look into any potential video evidence that this has happened before. And I think people, if they maybe have a day that they thought that they were short in their stack, could maybe look into the day they played. I'm just trying to give like a public service announcement, because when people are thieves, there's usually multiple instances. So just saying that for starters. And the second question becomes, why would you do this? Why would you palm chips? Let's just say hypothetically, right? Now, relating this back to Robbi. Let's say hypothetically that you had some kind of deal going where I essentially am going to relay you if you're good or not, and then you give me a cut. Hypothetically, of course. Why would you then steal money off of her stack? And there's a couple pretty reasonable explanations for that. The first is, let's just say that you work in the back room, and the reality is that some of the more menial tasks in the back room, they're not going to be super high paying jobs, guys. You know, that you need a full team of people, and so they're not going to be extremely high end jobs to be working in the back room, which is scary because this information, of course, is important and valuable. So what could happen here, hypothetically, is he is given a cut of the winnings, and then when she gives the money back, he's pissed off. I mean, we saw how Rip acted when she gave the money back, and we know that was his money. Imagine if you're someone that's working this show tirelessly, you feel like maybe you're underpaid, you have debts, you're in a bad situation, and then this is, let's just say you have 10%. Someone gets back $13,000. That could be months of work for you, and they just give it back. How would you feel? I'm not trying to justify it, of course, but that's one of the leading things. Maybe that was some kind of, retribution for that. And then the other thing is simply, he just thinks that she's not going to notice. She's a wreck. She's, not maybe fully aware of what's happening around her. He thinks that this is going to be an opportunity to be able to take some chips where someone won't notice. He says he doesn't know whose it was. I have a really hard time believing that. He said that in the statement he sent Robbi, or in the message. I have a really hard time believing that, because let's just be honest, who are you most likely going to be able to steal from at this table and not have them notice? It's almost certainly going to be Robbi. So, that also makes sense to me. What doesn't really make sense to me is he was just taking his cut of the scheme. Imagine you have 10% of this and you're just taking your cut. Well, you're going to take your cut on camera in the casino off her stack. So you're going to commit, a serious crime on camera on a piece that she owes you. That, I don't know, maybe in a world where he was worried she wouldn't pay him or whatever, but I'm not a huge fan of that theory just in general. I'm quite vocal that I think Robbi is most likely guilty, and this new evidence certainly moves me even farther into that camp. I don't know what the number is now. Let's say I was 90% before. Maybe I'm 97, 98, 99 now. It's something up there. We're getting to a point where enough has happened where I feel extremely confident, not to mention going into the hands themselves. Her accuracy in some of these tanks is pretty incredible. But I do have to at least note, there is a world where one of two things happens. Either essentially Brian was doing this, but someone else was the person that was revealing the information. Pretty unlikely, but we have to at least note the possibility. Or an even more unlikely situation that Brian was not working with her, and then also separately she made all these good decisions and won all this money on her own. So I feel like I at least need to acknowledge those viewpoints, because they're not at 0% right now. They're very unlikely. But what I mainly have to say is, I told you so. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm really not kidding. To expand a little bit on the point that this could have happened before, because I think it's an important caveat here. There's a lot of talk about who else has won the stream, and we definitely should be investigating who else has won over that time period. But I have to at least note something about a theory that's kind of popping up about a player known as DGAF, otherwise known as Billy. Basically, this guy has his own weekly show where he puts together the lineups and plays, and he's won $130,000, $140,000 on that show, or something in that vicinity. If you look at all the sessions that he played, he did tremendously better in the 2 seat than in the other seats. And he was losing in some of these other seats, starts playing in the 2 seat every day. All of a sudden, he's crushing all the time. I have strong reason to believe that this is a coincidence. I've looked at a bunch of the hands. I had one of my guys go through the hands. There were a few hands that are kind of questionable, but based on the vast majority of them, it seems to be credible to me. I can also say that just knowing Billy, I feel like he's a stand-up guy, and I want to at least disprove one theory that's going around about what happened earlier this week on a Monday stream, I think it was. At one point in the stream, Brian comes up to Billy and gives him something, gives him an item. And people are wondering, what was that? Now, and they show some hands Billy played where he won. I can confirm that what was given to Billy there was money that Brian owed him. So Brian comes into some money somehow. We know now how. And then he pays back Billy the $10,000. I think it was $8,000 for Billy and $2,000 for another friend he owed money to. So that was a handoff of chips that were owed to him. And I look, like, I'm not going to bat for Billy to say I know he didn't do it, right? But what I can say is I think it is very unlikely given the information publicly available, and that also I just it's hard for me to believe this specific theory given what I know about him. Finally, on a personal note, I just want to say that I've never taken so much heat for covering a story in my entire life. On this channel, I've always tried to do my best to be honest with my audience and say what I think and say what I believe in, even if that's not popular. I can't even remember taking this much hate for anything in my entire life. It's been overwhelming, the number of posts that I'm a complete scumbag piece of shit on Reddit. People talking about the CoinFlex thing, that I'm some scammer thief, which I lost money in it. I'm not looking for sympathy, but it's not like I was some guy that walked away with money. People talking about anything that I could do, the memes making fun of me, people talking about, like, Garrett's my best fucking friend. I've met Garrett like maybe 4 times in my entire life. All these things, like these like really mean, hateful things about me just because I was on this platform sharing my video or sharing my opinion. And I just want to say, it sucks when that happens to you. It sucks when the public mass turns against you in a way that you can't control, and you're just receiving like so much hate for every single thing that you do. But I want to just say right here that no matter what it looks like, and no matter how much hate that I take for what I believe in, I'm always going to say what I think is right and what I think needs to be said. I don't give 2 shits about what's going to happen publicly. If people think that they're just going to attack me, they're going to say, shut up, they're going to say, stay in your lane, say, you hate women, say all this stuff about me. I think the most important thing is sticking to what you believe in and looking for evidence and trying to update your opinions as the evidence becomes available. And I'm simply not going to respond to the horde, the mass of people otherwise, because I think I have a duty here to say what I believe in, and that's what I've tried to do for my audience. I will say one thing that's been kind of cool is, like, when I see the conversation online compared to this channel, like, you guys have been awesome. Like, the comments on my last couple of videos, they're generally quite positive, and you guys are happy about this content I've been making. So I guess to wrap up, I just want to say thank you to all the people that supported me. Even though I wasn't in this incident, I want to say thank you to all the people that supported me and the comments. And I mean, seeing that was, it gave me hope, and it let me realize that, look, just because there's this dominant narrative online of this only because people hate women, and this is only because, you're a thief, or this is because you're just like in it for the clout or the clicks or whatever, like, having an audience means something. And you guys that view this channel, I know I don't upload like I used to, but having people that watch this content and listen to what I have to say and appreciate it, that really means something. So I guess I just wanted to say it really meant something to me the comments you guys made and the support for me, and I want you to know that I really appreciate that. Quick note on this Robbi interview on Joe Ingram's pod. If you've not watched it, I'd strongly recommend. I've only seen about 20-30 minutes of it because I'm struggling to find any moments between sleep and poker and investigating and whatever else making content. So I'd recommend checking it out. I'm going to certainly check out the rest of it at some point soon. But apparently over the course of this interview, she seems a little bit unhinged and she's kind of running in some circles on stuff. Some stories are changing. I'll let you guys judge that for yourself. I'll put a link in the description below. I have to say, this story just makes me think that it's important to play and win money fairly when you play cash games, which is why I recommend Upswing Poker's new course, Smash Live Cash, coming to you October 17th by Nick Petrangelo, one of the absolute crushers. That's right, this course comes with over 25 hours of content and an exclusive personal connection to the Lodge production team. That's right, your ticket right in... No, probably a bad joke. That was a joke, by the way. Not the course. The course is launching, so you can tune into that. October 17th, Upswing Poker. Anyway, guys, if I have more information as I go along, I'll make it available. Thank you for watching the video today. I'll see you again soon.